Have you ever noticed how the person you fall for becomes for a time the center of your universe? How everything seems to glow in their presence, as if they hold some secret key to your happiness. And when they're gone, that crushing weight in your chest, that desperate need to be chosen again. What if what we call love is often something else entirely? A beautiful illusion covering a deeper, more primal need, the need to be rescued from ourselves. You see it in the patterns, the same story playing out with different characters. The initial intoxication, the projections, the eventual disappointment. The cycle that leaves you wondering why fulfillment remains just beyond reach. We chase love like salvation. We enter relationships carrying invisible wounds, hoping another person's touch will heal what we cannot face alone. But relationships built on rescue missions inevitably collapse. This is the uncomfortable truth Freud understood. Beneath our romantic yearnings often lies a child's desperate wish to be saved, to be completed, to escape the fundamental loneliness of being human. You don't want a partner. You want absolution. You want someone to witness your pain and make it meaningful, to transform your chaos into order, to make your existence bearable. But this creates a merciless burden for the other. How can anyone bear the weight of your unfulfilled destiny? How can they possibly become the perfection you've imagined? Freud called this transference, our unconscious projection of unresolved childhood needs onto our lovers. We seek in them the perfect parent we never had, the unconditional acceptance we desperately crave. What we call passionate love often masks something more primitive, dependence disguised as devotion, a spiritual hunger mistaken for romantic attachment, an escape from the burden of becoming ourselves. When someone embodies our rescue fantasy, we don't see them. We see the salvation they represent, and they will inevitably fail us, as all humans must fail when asked to be gods. True love begins precisely where this illusion ends, where we relinquish the child's demand to be saved and embrace the adult's courage to stand in our incompleteness. The philosopher Alain Badiou suggests that authentic love isn't finding your other half, but rather encountering absolute difference. Not completion, but the courage to see another in their irreducible strangeness. Love isn't merging two broken halves. It's two whole people witnessing each other's separate journeys. Not eliminating loneliness, but standing together in the knowledge that we each walk alone. Consider how often we begin relationships in a state of intoxication. Everything about them seems perfect. Their flaws appear endearing. The future stretches out, luminous with possibility. But beneath this enchantment lurks a shadow, the unspoken contract. You will save me from my emptiness. You will make my life meaningful. You will shelter me from my fears. This contract remains invisible until it's violated. When they fail to rescue us from ourselves, our pain feels like betrayal. But they never agreed to be our salvation. They cannot be. Have you noticed how relationships intensify around our wounds? How we unconsciously seek those who activate our deepest pain points. This is no accident. The psyche seeks completion. It draws us toward what feels familiar, toward patterns established in childhood. We recreate our earliest attachments, hoping for different outcomes. If your caretakers were emotionally unavailable, you may find yourself drawn to distant partners. If love was conditional, you may unconsciously seek situations where you must earn affection. Like moths to flame, we navigate by the light of our unhealed wounds. We call it chemistry, fate, or passion. What we don't see is how these attractions often lead us back to our oldest suffering. This is the paradox. What feels most like love may actually be the psyche's attempt to resolve ancient pain. Not forward movement, but repetition. Not growth, but regression. The mirror of relationship reflects not only our longing, but our fear. Not only our capacity for connection, but our tendency towards self-sabotage. Not only our light, but our deepest shadows. What would happen if you stopped seeking rescue? If you faced the void within instead of asking another to fill it? If you carried your own darkness instead of demanding that someone else illuminate it? This is where transformation begins. In accepting that no one can save you from the essential task of becoming yourself. In realizing that authentic connection can only emerge from wholeness, not hunger. The 13th century poet Rumi wrote, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." These barriers, fears, projections, unmet needs, create the very suffering from which we seek escape. They transform potential partners into saviors, setting both parties up for inevitable disappointment. Consider the ocean as metaphor. When we're drowning, anyone who extends a hand becomes our world. But this isn't love, it's survival. Love begins on the shore, when both stand on solid ground. True intimacy requires sovereignty. The knowledge that you can survive alone makes your choice to connect authentic. You choose another not from desperation, but from abundance. Not from lack, but from wholeness. This doesn't mean perfect self-sufficiency. We remain vulnerable, interdependent creatures. But there's a profound difference between neediness and need, between dependency and deep connection. The first keeps us small, perpetually seeking outside ourselves what can only be found within. The second allows us to grow, to expand beyond the confines of our separate selves. What if love isn't what fills your emptiness, but what challenges your illusions? Not comfort, but disruption. Not security, but the courage to remain open in an uncertain world. The psychoanalyst Carl Jung suggested that what we resist in ourselves, we project onto others. Our unacknowledged qualities, both shadow and light, become the very things that attract or repel us in potential partners. That intensity you feel with someone may be recognition, parts of yourself, disowned or undeveloped, reflected back at you. The relationship becomes a hall of mirrors, each reflection offering a path toward wholeness. This changes everything. Your attractions become maps of your unconscious. Your conflicts become opportunities for integration. Your disappointments become invitations to reclaim projected power. If you find yourself repeatedly drawn to unavailable partners, perhaps you're avoiding your own capacity for commitment. If you're attracted to those who need saving, perhaps you're neglecting your own vulnerability. When someone triggers intense emotion, ask yourself, what part of me is being activated? What am I refusing to see? What am I asking this person to carry that belongs to me? The wound becomes the doorway. The very patterns that cause suffering contain the seeds of liberation. By bringing consciousness to unconscious drives, you begin the work of genuine transformation. Kierkegaard wrote that anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Perhaps our romantic suffering serves a similar function, revealing the terrifying responsibility of becoming ourselves rather than waiting to be completed by another. This is the great unmasking, realizing that what you thought was love was often avoidance. Avoidance of your own depth, your own capacity, your own essential aloneness. Avoidance of the work that only you can do. If this resonates with you, perhaps you're ready to love differently. Not from hunger, but from fullness. Not from fear, but from courage. not as escape, but as encounter. Imagine relationships where you don't need to be saved, where you've already done the work of rescuing yourself, where you meet as equals, not as solutions to each other's emptiness. This type of connection doesn't eliminate uncertainty or pain, but it transforms how you experience these inevitabilities, not as threats to security, but as invitations to grow beyond old limitations. Instead of asking, "Will you complete me?" you ask, "Can we witness each other's becoming?" Instead of, "Will you rescue me?" you ask, "Can we walk beside each other, even in darkness?" The philosopher Simone de Beauvoir suggested that authentic love preserves the freedom of both parties. It doesn't constrain or possess, it witnesses and celebrates. It doesn't demand rescue, but offers presence. This love doesn't promise escape from life's essential difficulties. It promises companionship as you face them. Not salvation, but solidarity. Not perfection, but humanity. The paradox reveals itself. Only when you stop expecting love to save you does genuine love become possible. Only when you carry your own emptiness can you truly meet another. What happens when you love this way? Everything changes. The desperate clinging dissolves. The fear of abandonment loses its grip. The need for constant reassurance fades. You become capable of seeing the other as they are, not as projections of your needs. You can finally love a human being, not a fantasy. You can finally be loved for who you are, not for who you pretend to be. The power dynamics shift. No longer is one the savior and one the saved. No longer is one complete and one lacking. Both stand in their sovereignty, choosing connection rather than demanding it. This transformation ripples outward. As you reclaim projected power, you change not just your intimate relationships, but all connections. You become more authentic, more present, more capable of genuine intimacy. You find yourself less reactive, less desperate for validation, more able to stand in uncertainty without grasping for false security, more willing to encounter life directly rather than through the buffer of relationship. The journey from wanting to be saved to learning to save yourself is perhaps life's essential pilgrimage. Not a straight path, but a spiral, returning to the same points with deepening understanding. And here is the final, beautiful irony. When you no longer need saving, you become capable of true connection. When you carry your own darkness, you can finally meet another without using them as a shield against yourself. In the words of Rilke, love consists in this, that two solitudes protect and touch and greet each other. Not two halves making a whole, not escape from loneliness, but two complete beings standing at the edge of their separate mysteries, brave enough to remain there together. This is the love you truly want, beneath the longing to be saved. This is the love that doesn't diminish with time, but deepens. That doesn't constrain, but liberates. That doesn't complete you, but invites you to complete yourself. The choice remains yours. To continue seeking outside yourself what can only be found within, or to begin the courageous work of becoming whole, capable of loving not from hunger, but from abundance. Perhaps true love isn't what rescues you from your depths, but what accompanies you as you descend into them. Not what shields you from your darkness, but what gives you courage to illuminate it yourself.